that's involved right now.
Hey, I'm hearing the beat now, so I'm going crazy. I'm never lazy, I hop up on it like I'm jumping a daisy. Kick my feet in the grass, laying down like I don't know if class gon' last this long, so I'ma school them. Every time I hop up on the beat, you know I'm fooling. Back again, spazzing with my friends. I'm tapping into a new sense of self, so I keep rhyming like I got new sense of wealth. Reapply for unemployment today, cause I've been broke as fuck and I don't know what's coming my way. But I'ma rap on this beat, spaz on this heat, strap on this. They don't know what's back on this sheet. So I catch the flow, regurgitate it. I ain't never hating, I made it. So I let my laugh slow down. I wish I would've rapped on this shit at the beginning though. Fuck.
Yeah, that was hard, bro. That was hard. That was hard.
It's so hard.
Welcome to Vine Tree Radio. It's your boy West, chilling with
Mauriwowi, how's it going?
You know, here chilling with a guest. Introduce yourself.
My name is Anthony Elijah. I'm a drummer. I'm a producer. I do a little bit of everything, so yeah.
Hey, there we go. We're going to get into all that right now. I feel like we've had a variety of guests so far. A lot of them having to do with music. A lot of them having to do with entertainment and being creative in general. But I think today is kind of one of those days where we really get to talk about the essence of music and like instrumentation itself, because being a drummer and, you know, us kind of being producers of music and like in engineering and all that, I feel like it's interesting to see how those worlds come together, like the live aspect of like playing music and then producing music digitally. Right. I feel like the intersections of that are something where we kind of like love, like we like incorporating live shit into the shit we do, and seeing how that works is kind of like, I don't know, it's something I feel like Mauricio could talk about too. It's like something we've had a lot of conversations about, but never maybe directly. It just kind of has been like what it is. As far as like the instrumentation, like drumming and everything coming into our production, like, but we kind of started out on the first thing with like the bass, and like, you know what I'm saying, you wanted to get a bass and you had that other drum set too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for us, like, at least for us, we'll start like on that end. It was like, as far as like live instrumentation, we would only do like the piano,
right,
or the MIDI keyboard at first. You know, and thankfully that thing has a million capabilities. You know, you could do any instrument really behind it. So that was, it's fun. I love playing like I've mentioned before, I'm a big fan of like jazz and jazz style of approaching music. Right. So the way of just kind of getting into the flow and having fun and enjoying it. So for me, my instrument was like the keyboard. Right. But with that, early on, a lot of the restriction was like for drums. Like I could keyboard it in, but it was a little bit different. Like sometimes there's just, at least early on learning, like, you know, there's just so many easy ways to just put it on the grid, and then you just start building from there. And so at least for drumming, like for us, it really started a lot of like electronic, or just programming it in, you know, and then working with like swing, and then working with, you know, trying to make it a little bit more lively. Right. But we didn't have too much of like live drums up until at one point we met with your friend Jack. Yeah, at Sprouts, which is funny enough, where I also met Famous at when I was working. Dope. Yeah, it was another friend that I worked there, and he was a drummer too. And I was talking to him a lot about music, and he seemed into music theory, which was interesting. He was real big into music theory, and I always thought like, well, somebody like that, like in this environment, could kind of maybe help put some of these songs together. And then we brought him in on like one song to kind of do like a solo, which was very interesting. I'd never seen nothing like that.
Cause that was cool, because we did a couple things. Then we did the solo, like for the song Red Paint, we had him do the drums solo for that. But it was cool because that one we also did like that's actually a really interesting mix, because so I was gonna say with Jack, when he came over, we had a session where he was just because I ended up buying a MIDI drum set, right? Because I was like, yo, this is so cool, but I know that most of the feel comes with like actually kind of moving around and
exactly, you know,
getting into the
your
groove.
Body. Yeah.
So I was like, I need to get a MIDI drum set, and so I got a MIDI drum set, and I was just starting to use it, and then we had the homie Jack come over, and so he was just jamming out on it, going crazy, and that was the first time I had like a live drummer play with me at the same time as I was like playing on a keyboard, and that was a great feeling. And I was like, man, we need more of this, like, and so that was like a big step into us kind of wanting to pursue more of like live instrumentation of just like not doing like one at a time, but like bringing other folks in to try to jam in like simultaneously. That's something we really want to dive into further.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
On that same note, that same day when he came over, he did the performance for Red Paint.
Right?
It was for Red Paint. He did the drum, like the drums, and so that one he did live drums. But that's like an example of, we took like the live drums, but we sauced it up with like some of like, you know, the digital engineering elements of like layering and stuff on top of them, and so we were able to get like this kind of wild and different sounding sounds.
I think I remember
you
were talking about how it was, the drums were doubled.
Yeah.
So it was like
nice,
2 takes. Like it was like a take of him doing it, and then there was like another take, right?
It was just 2 solos completely different from each other, and then put them on top of each other, and it sounded wild, because I mean it's just going off in so many different directions.
He was trying to hit the same, he was trying to hit the same solo type of thing.
Yeah,
he was
trying
listening
to keep
to
the
it,
same vibe,
and he was like matching it. So it was kind of him trying to match it those 2 different ways together. Sounded really good for some reason.
Dang, that's I got to hear that.
Yeah,
anytime you mix those 2 things together, well, first, like I feel like some of my favorite producers always do that really well. Like I'm a huge fan of like Knowledge, you know what I'm saying, and he's able to take, you know, real drum loops of real drummers playing and put it over a sample, and because of how it's lined up, it sounds like that was a song to begin with, you know what I'm saying? So I mean, even in my own music now, I'm doing that more, is like trying to add more, you know, digital plus the live feel, because, you know, I just feel like people like both, and I feel like nowadays I feel like people are more open to like listening to more live music, more than, you know, just listening to like beats, you know what I'm saying, and just, you know, trap or whatever the case is. Yeah. So that's always something I'm working on too, is like just trying to mix those 2 worlds together. So yeah.
I think for me it's a big part of the like performance element, kind of like what you touched on. Like I think that's what got me drawn to it, because I always knew those parts and breaks would make like the performance part of it more impactful, kind of like, cause that's what I like, you know, when I'm watching somebody in the show, or if I see a song I like, when they change it and they bring it out in a different way live, like, oh, that guitar part, they played it out extra long, and it got me very like, you know what I'm saying, like they kind of like get the crowd excited in the ways that they kind of change the track. Like if you see like Anderson .Paak or somebody like that live, like it's gonna be like a little different to get the crowd going.
Yeah,
and it's like those elements kind of do get incorporated in the songs, I feel like, when you get deep into it. Like if anything, I feel like before we get a little ahead of ourselves, I'll maybe tap into what it was like meeting you, and tell the crowd, everybody watching, how we met and like our origins within that, because I feel like that's a lot of what this show's been about. Vine Tree Radio is like the connections in which, you know, we all have made, and the overall tree that kind of has made, like, you know, knowing this person and knowing that person, and then how that's led to us becoming like who we are.
Right.
So I feel like it starts for us in Lancaster, definitely in like the AV.
Yeah, man.
Like a long time ago, because I was for sure grew up there and went to elementary there, and I think we had to meet probably at some point in elementary then, right, or middle school.
We met in 6th grade.
6th grade? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So then,
because I went to
elementary you went to then?
I went to Lincoln. I think you went to Jack Northrop.
I definitely
right?
went to Jack Northrop. Yeah.
We met there. I met you through remember Melvin?
Yeah, Melvin, for sure.
Y'all had a class together, and we was cool. Me and Melvin was cool since like Lincoln.
Because I remember we played basketball. That's why I knew Melvin from school and middle school.
Bro, I could never make that basketball team.
Bro, it was tough. It was tough. I remember I made it, but it was tough, bro. It was like some for real, like.
I was trash, bro. I'm like, there was like 3 tryouts, like different ones.
Yeah.
Bro, I didn't even make it to the second one.
Why was that so intense in middle school? It was like real.
Like, why are you picking players on a team in middle school? Most of the people that played then do not play now. They're not good at all.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It was trash back then. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It was funny. But I remember that was good times though. I feel like the funny thing is like, what music were you listening to at that time?
Man, at that time it was only gospel. Like my mom, she didn't let me listen to anything else. Well, it just depends what it was. She didn't let me listen to a lot of stuff with cussing it. So
makes sense. That's exactly gospel. The time when it was like, I would say like 7th grade, when I started to maybe like get into my own music. Like I wasn't really picking my own music essentially, like right until maybe a little bit around that time. Right. Like it was probably what was like on the radio somewhat, or like maybe whatever my dad was listening to if he was playing music. But I feel like I even made a song though about someone else in one of my classes in 7th grade. That I had an iPod and I didn't really know how to get music on it, and then I let them my iPod and they took it and they brought it back with like music on it.
Same situation actually. Davon, rest in peace to him, but he actually gave me a sidekick, and the sidekick had all the music on it. Like that's when Drake first came out. That's when Nicki Minaj came out. Lil Wayne, the whole Young Money was just popping. So that's how I found out about Drake. So I think probably the only person I was listening to at that time besides gospel was Drake.
I see.
And I was hiding to do that. My mom didn't even know I was doing that.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I had to hide to listen to Drake. That's crazy to even think about. But
yeah, bro, that was how it was back then. That's what I'm saying. It was literally like my mom was like, "How'd you get that?" And it was just like, I don't know. But now I'm listening to it's like music. Like I thought maybe I just recorded it because there was like MP3s where you could kind of like record the radio.
Exactly.
I had one of those at one point in time.
Me too. Me too. I had to hide to put music on that too. Like I had a cousin, basically a cousin, and he would put the music on it for me. But my mom, she would be checking music like monthly to like see what was on it. So you had to delete the music before she checked.
That's
you know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
She wasn't playing no games, man. But I
real,
understand. I understand to a certain extent. So.
That's real though, because I mean I didn't really understand a lot of the songs I listened to then. But the homie put me back with a lot of mix of everything. It was a lot of stuff I already listened to, like my dad listened to, like 50 Cent, and stuff like that. But then I feel like the only other new artist was like Lil Wayne. It was a few like Lil Wayne songs that I wanted, and he put on there like Lollipop.
Yeah, bro, like, Lollipop or Millie.
Yeah, it was just like a few that I just was like
classic.
I was like, I need those two gems.
Yeah, for sure, bro.
For me, my parents would burn me out because I was a kid that was bringing home like the iPods and like downloading all the shit. So our computer was just getting fucked from the viruses from LimeWire. It was just slowing down so much, and so my parents were just more like you need to stop downloading this stuff. It's just messing up the computer. You know what I mean? Like I was like, oh man.
That's LimeWire and the other one,
Napster.
Napster. Yeah,
classic.
I'm glad I never did that, but like I wish I did. You know what I'm saying? Like I used it, but someone else plugged me with it. Like I never downloaded it for that reason, because I was just like, I don't even know how to do this, and if I do it, I feel like it's about to mess up my computer.
Yeah, exactly.
I came to terms. I was like, my computer is like, it's kind of old. It's already slow as is. I was like, I don't really use it for anything else. So I was like, I might as well just. I loved it, dude. I literally would buy like the CDs. I used to make CDs just because I used to love that shit.
Dang,
and I would have like mix CDs, and then also at one point, because I would just download a bunch of songs from LimeWire, I literally just put all my music into like a library in my CDs. So it'd literally be like just alphabetical, like A's 1 through 10, whatever I could fit on there. And
I was trying to figure that out, but I feel like I just had those. Like I had a lot of CDs, like the blank ones in my house, and I feel like my dad would do it, but I never I feel like I wasn't old enough to like really get on the computer and know what to do.
I never understood it. I never understood how you could put songs on a computer on a CD. Like crazy. Even in the time where that had kind of like went away and everybody was more on to the MP3s and MP4s, I was still like, how are people able to put songs on a CD? I feel like I'm talking
from a producer standpoint though. That shit might have changed a lot.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
Even
you hear like old people that were like kind of like the Knowledges and the Mad Libs.
Yeah,
like that kind of had that and then had their music taste. They started like manipulating it and stuff like that.
Right.
So it's all interesting to see like how those mechanics kind of like led into certain people's like producing skills. Like
that's a huge, and I don't think something I feel like that the music industry sometimes overlooks is just a huge thanks to Apple. iTunes, man, that absolutely changed the game. Apple has like left and right come in out of nowhere and changed the music industry like in such subtle but huge ways that people don't acknowledge, like the fact of like including the iTunes, the fact of including like the podcast app, the app store in the iTunes, you know what I mean, the whole iPhone line, the capability of like holding like your like they made MP3s like actually a cooler thing and more attainable for everybody. Like it was just great, and it goes even deeper than that, you know what I mean? So
iPod Touch, man, when I got that, it was level. A wrap, bro.
Yeah, I think that
you could download videos from YouTube. Bro, games was crazy. You could get it jailbroken. Like,
see, that explains this is why like now I kind of feel computers, but I kind of don't. But like that explains where I fell off. It was right at the point when the iPod Touch came out. I never got one.
Yeah,
that's where I fell off.
Yep.
Like that's why like I didn't. So right at that little time point, I just stuck on like I don't even know. I think I just was like kind of do like sports or something. Cause I had like phones and I was messing with the ones before that though.
Right.
Like where you could download music, like the little Android ones. But I don't think I think I switched to Android for a long time. Like right when phones started to really become phones.
Right.
I think I was just like on Droids for a cool minute.
Yeah. Me too, actually. Me too, man. I hated Droids. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah, like it was like I was in a different world.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I was kind of like in the Droid world, and that world wasn't really like it would have benefited if I got into PCs and like ended up doing. But then when I decided to go to Mac, anyways, it was like I didn't need all that.
Exactly. Yeah.
Man.
It's crazy how Mac, like, on some, like, just not trying to big them up too much, but now, like, the ability, I mean, you can have your phone, your computer, and all these other things just kind of linked and everything works together. You know, like, whereas a Droid, there is kind of some things, but there's like extra steps.
It's almost like, do you want to know how to like put this together? It's like, that's beneficial, but like it already could just link it together for you. Like
exactly, man.
That's kind of what Apple did. They're like,
convenience.
Like, that's when I went to Apple for my iPhone. I mean, I never went back. I'm never gonna go back. I have a Mac. Now my mom has an iPad.
Exactly.
Got her on that. Got her
Once
off
I
that.
got my mom
Android.
an iPhone, it was over, bro.
Yeah.
It was like that was like literally like the stepping stone. Like
now the whole family's on it.
Yeah.
So.
Now the whole fam is, and it's just one of those things, like you said. Once you're on it, you can't get out because
you can't. Why would you want to leave if you have? You know what I'm saying? That would be crazy. So.
That's funny.
Yeah,
bro.
man.
But even at that age with the Androids, I was with the prepaids at this time. I was like biking a lot, and I remember you were one of the homies actually I would end up kicking it with outside of school because there wasn't like at that point you couldn't really hang out like with everyone outside of school because it's middle school, you can only hang out like nearby. And even going over where he lived, I was probably not supposed to be riding that far, but I was just like,
because you was off a Challenger, right?
Yeah. We lived closer to the school, like nearby the school, so we would go over there anyways, just because it would be like, well, we're on the bike, like we can see, we know someone over there, and like we'll go see. And it was a reason to go over there and just not be like wherever. So we're like, all right, just ride over there, and then sometimes you'd be out there playing basketball because that's what we would do over there. Just try to like play basketball wherever's out. And then catch some games, but then every now and then we would see you and they're playing like drums for real, like
man,
like really like practicing which is kind of something I guess I didn't see as much there at that time because it wasn't like there was like a school band necessarily. Like
that was crazy. We never really had that. But for me, like I don't know. I guess at that age I started practicing because that's when YouTube. Well, I guess 3 years prior to then was like when YouTube really got popular. And so that's when I started to see like my favorite drummers actually playing on YouTube. So that's when I was like, man, like I got to be like these guys. So I was willing to do anything. And I know it's kind of crazy to like think of like, I don't even know. I was probably 12 or 13.
Yeah, 13.
Practicing every day after school. That's to be dedicated to something at that age is crazy. But when you wanted it that bad, it's like you'll do anything for it. And for the longest time, man, like I didn't have a drum set at my house for like the first 12 years. So every time I wanted to play, I had to play at church. So I was able to get one at the house. So I was like, man, I'm finna go in on this thing every day, every chance I get, man. So, yeah. So that's probably why I wasn't really involved in like sports. Well, I was in high school for a little bit, but
I saw that later on. Like I saw you later on got into sports. I was like, that's sick, bro.
I was in football in high school for like 2 years, but then I was like, I want to commit these last 2 years to music. And then I ended up getting accepted into a university in Boston, which I'm sure we'll get into later, but yeah.
So question, when you were first when you got your drum set and you're starting to like, all right, I'm gonna get into this, how did you start? What was your approach to learning it? Did you go take classes, or you were already playing in the church, you said? So like, were you just practicing old songs? Were you just jamming out, doing breaks? Like, what was going on?
So basically, I mean, I grew up in church. So, I mean, there's always like musicians around, you know what I'm saying? So I would just watch them. I started playing drums at like 2 or 3 years old. So just watching the drummer at church. The drums at church is probably the most interesting thing for all kids. It's like this big moving part. It's more interesting than somebody playing keys or playing guitar or something. So everybody clings to that at first. So I was just clinging to that, and then, I don't know, like I had a drum set when I was a kid, and they would just turn on music and I would just play. And at some point I got okay. I just was doing it more often. I never really took a lesson, even to this day. I went to music school, but I never really took a lesson. Just kept watching and, just try to do what came out of me. So
nice.
Yeah, man.
So early on, would you would you just practice just going in, or would you have like a track playing, like say like melodies or something like that, and then you're going in doing the drums on top of that?
A little bit of both. Literally, I remember like sometimes, I actually remember this one time, I was actually at church and there was a song they were playing, and I went home and I got on the drum set and I asked my mom to sing that song so I could play to her singing. You know what I'm saying? So it was a little bit of like practicing the music and just playing. Like I was just so interested in the drums that I literally would take the drum set apart, you know, and try to put it back together. Just anything that involved drums I wanted to be a part of. So anytime I heard music in the car, like I still remember listening to some records and being like, how do they get the drums to sound like that? How do they get the music to sound like that? Because I was just so into every aspect of just music and drums, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, it just came out of me. I was playing everything, man. Just anything I can find. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. I was interested to ask, like, how does that compare for maybe like you and your days of like deciding to do music and stuff? Because I know you probably decided to do it later, but at that point in time, I feel like you said like you were in band, like music, or like you're not band, but like the music shit at your school was like a thing, like the program.
Oh, when I was a kid,
Yeah. Like I wonder how that, like, how was that for you at that point in time?
That was partially why I stopped doing music early on, was because that was very forced. Like that whole my big gripe with music and kind of creative expression as a whole is I don't like being forced into certain things.
Right.
And I don't, when I was a young kid, like I was put in piano lessons, and I'm super thankful for them because they set a great foundation for me, and I was able to, you know, get a piano at home and then practice and do everything I wanted later. But initially, like going to actual lessons and being told like, all right, this is what you need to learn, do this over, do it again, make it better. Like, nah, that's not perfect. Like that one was like that, you know, those. And it's a thing of like, all right, this is cool, but I don't even like this song. Like I'm spending hours memorizing this song that I don't even like.
Right.
Why am I doing this? And then and so my thing, a big part with that, with the school stuff, was it was cool because, you know, they had other like instruments that's where you go play with the recorders and like the tambourines and you know, little things like that, which was cool to have that kind of fun time. But for those recitals and shit, it was like, all right, every week we have like an hour dedicated to just go and sing and practice these songs. And it's like,
so it was a little bit less like personal focus, like how you described, where you were really on your like, all right, this is what I want to do, like I'm gonna take my time out and practice, and a lot more like being in with everybody, like
mine was like, a lot more structured, like, and more just kind of like, all right, you're here, do this, like not really a lot of room to grow. And that's what kind of that's what deterred me early on. And so I took a big break from music for many years, up until I got to the point where I was like, nah. And this was like on career change, like life change, thinking like I need to do something that's like, I need to stop being put into positions by other people, and I need to start making my own path and do what I want to do, have fun.
Right.
And that was expressing, like realizing, no, I could do this with music. And so with music now, it's being able to kind of make up for that, being like, no, now it's just like no limits in the music, no limits in the creative field as a whole.
Yeah, that's a great point, because like parents, a lot of people from church, they always ask me like, you know, what should they do for their kid that's trying to learn how to play an instrument? And I always tell them like, first, don't have them in lessons at first. You know what I'm saying? Let them get some time just to like experience just playing the instrument. Because if you have a kid who's super excited about playing drums or making music, making beats, whatever the case is, you know, and then you have somebody that shows them like the theory behind it, it kind of puts them in a box. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to do whatever, and it's like, okay, this is how you do a 6-stroke roll, or this is how you do this. It's like, dude, I just want to play. You're less than 10 years old, you taking lessons, and you're just happy to be playing. Like, you don't want to think about all the theoretical things about it. You just
trying
to
figure out the movements and stuff.
Yeah, you just want to play. So I always tell them like, just leave room for them to always have freedom to play for the first couple of years, and then, you know, if they're still in the next couple of years, when they're older and mature and they can sit down and understand lessons, go ahead and get those lessons. So
definitely, I wish I would have went back on that, because I took lessons in like outside of school, because there wasn't like a school program when I was in like 3rd grade, I think, because right when I was like moved to Lancaster, I was in private schools all the way up until I lived in Lancaster.
Wow. So
from 1st until like 3rd grade, I was in like a Christian school, and then I think in preschool I went to like a Montessori school or something. Dang. Which was interesting. But like that was just, and then I went to just Christian schools, and it was like private, but then I went to one So I was taking lessons when I was maybe like in 3rd grade, right before I left, in piano. And I was about to move to singing because singing seemed more fun. And because of the same thing, like I just kept playing the same songs and I was like tired of the songs. And I was like, but I was kind of like hyped on going to like one recital. Like I went to one recital and I thought that was dope. Like I played, what's it called? Row, row, row your boat.
That's nice.
It was very hard, you know what I'm saying? Everybody sat down and like it was cool. But I feel like I was like, you know, like that was it.
Right.
So then I think I got into sports and all that, but I also took lessons one more time at like one private school that I finished at for the half of the year I moved to Lancaster at. So they had like a lady that was side there. That was like my only experiences there. So it wasn't really kind of with everyone, but it was kind of just like the same thing. Like you just start off at the same level. And I think for me it was more so that like not knowing if you could finish this, like being like, oh, I can't do this. Like if
Right.
you're not doing it yet, like I'm not as good at it yet, then you feel like, like maybe this is gonna take forever, like for me to become nice at this, versus like in ball or whatever,
Right.
you're seeing the results right away. But you get more mature, you start to understand like it's the same thing.
Yeah, and that's another thing too, is like, that just made me think of something. Like when you're a kid and you're learning how to play, let's say piano, right? So you're learning how to play, and your parents immediately get you into, you know, lessons right away when they find that you have a liking to the instrument. And it's like, another reason why you don't want to do that is because you want to develop your own, you know, kind of independence on learning. You know what I'm saying? If you always, well, I can tell even today the difference between a self-taught musician and someone that was actually taught to play, because there's just this independence that a self player has. And that's nothing against, you know, anybody else. I'm just saying,
No, I agree.
you know what I'm saying? There's this independence that they have, that when it comes to learning things, how they're able to get around learning, as opposed to someone who was taught. There's some things that they'll never learn in a certain way. It's like it's kind of like a stiff feeling sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And honestly, even for self-taught people, you got to learn theory, you got to learn the basics of stuff at some point. Like, I think probably 5 or 6 years ago is when I started to really like to learn like theory on drums and just music in general. And it was cool because like it was actually names for the stuff that I was doing. Yeah. So, you know, that's another thing, like goes back to what I said. Just give it some time before you know, get into lessons. So
No, I agree wholeheartedly with that.
Yeah.
Like my approach to music and like the creative process, because it goes like a lot of the way I approach music dabbles into how I approach to like design and
right.
like a lot of visual aspects and stuff. But it's in that sense of now I don't like I bought myself a guitar. I bought myself like a bass guitar. I got like a guitar for Christmas. I also have like the MIDI drum set, and none of those, all of those, like my parents were like, or parents and other family members were like, oh, we should get some classes. Like
right.
we know you're already like you're nice enough with the piano, but should you get some class into the guitar, you know, or the drums or whatever? I'm like, no. Yeah. I'm not doing any of that shit this time around. I'm gonna just go into the weeds, and I'm just gonna like,
yeah,
you know, just fight my way through and learn it and feel it. And it's so much more fucking liberating, dude. It's just so much more fun, because when you do something because like it goes into two things. Because when you do it and you do it, like you do something that sounds cool, you're like, oh man, that just like, I can't believe I did that. That feels right. And it wasn't something that kind of was like, yeah, it's rewarding.
Yeah.
And then the second thing is like I have nothing against like my gripe earlier, I was saying like I don't like playing a song and like being forced to play in a song, right? But if I'm jamming and I just somehow end up in the same melody sometimes as like a song that I recognize or something like that like brings me so much joy, because I'm like, yo, I feel like right now I'm in the same mindset and in the same vibe that hopefully that person that made the song was in, that they were just kind of flowing freely and they came across this like portion of like the vibe, the music, and then they recorded and they did that. But it's kind of like on that same thing, not where like I was forced in, read it and saw like, okay, this is how you get that. It was just kind of like naturally going through it and being in that same mindset or same wave, it feels like.
Right, yeah. And even with that, like the way that you did it, you know, I feel like you hone your creative, you know, aura, you know what I'm saying, a way of like, you just basically, because you just play and you just jam to whatever it is that you want to jam to, you know, you can like figure out your style, your creativity in the music, what your input is. Like, you can basically figure out like, okay, how would you approach this song versus this guy? You know what I'm saying? Because this is how because you spent time just messing with your guitar and playing, practicing, whatever the case is. So yeah, that's very important too, is like leaving space for like you to be able to be creative and develop your own creative mindset, because that always tends to change too from year to year too. So yeah,
that is crazy, because I feel like that's for the most part only way I know piano is like from having my piano from then and just using it on my own from like the years forward.
Right.
I kind of always just been using it like as like I always use it as like an outlet, but that kind of helped me, like you said, find my sound within it when I wanted to do it, because I was like, oh, I use it when I'm like to just play whatever. Like I used to like watching movies when there would be like somebody like drunk on the piano, like really just like like Donald Duck or somebody. It's kind of just like I always like figured out like that there's something about those moments in songs where it's like you really feel someone like doing it and it's trying to move you, like in Beethoven and stuff like that. Like and so I was like, all right, once I started to realize that like Stevie Wonder taught himself how to play without like, you know what I'm saying? It was really like I was started to really just hone in on that idea, like he's tapped into something else that he's using and channeling through the piano.
Right.
And as long as you can capture those moments, you can kind of purpose them with the arrangement. You need like a little bit of just arrangement sauce of like song making. And then, okay, I want to put this here, put this there.
Exactly, man. That's the thing too, is like of course we have to learn the basis of music, you know what I'm saying, especially if you want to be like a professional musician. But I mean, like you said, like Stevie, like there are really no rules, you know what I'm saying, especially now more than ever. I mean, you have so many musicians that are involved in so many different types of aspects of music. Like, have you guys heard of Mono Neon? He's a bass player, and he's like, he plays like a microtonal bass sometimes, right? And it's a bass basically that's like the strings are basically tuned so they're inside the different keys. So instead of like C, D, E, F, they're in between. You know what I'm saying? So he plays stuff like that. Like there are really no rules. Like you can play however you want. You can approach things however you want.
Kind of like how Thundercat sometimes they'll freeze his hands and he's not even on. Like they were like, what is that? Like what note is that? But he made one that is those other notes or whatever, like that aren't there, like of his guitar is tuned to those other ones.
Exactly. So he does stuff like that. His whole like sense of like wardrobe is like highlight colors, and like he wears like the construction vest, stuff like that, but as everyday wear. And like the way he plays is different than everybody else, and that's just like inspiring, because it's like when I first found out about him, I'm like, dude, like that's inspiring, because it just tells me I can do whatever I want. Obviously, you playing a gig, you playing a show, you got to be disciplined to the music, but at the end of the day, do what you want. It's an art. It's like artists, you never have to worry about an artist following theory when they're, you know what I'm saying? They do what they feel. That's the same in music, you know? So nothing really changes.
The theory is, I get it. Like, it's fun. Okay, I have a friend of mine who is who focuses on like music composition, or like film composition.
Right.
So like for movies, commercials, TV, stuff like that, doing like the scoring for it.
Right.
And so for him, like he loves to freestyle on the piano.
Right.
And it's like even on the guitar and everything, but like he is very theory focused, because like I guess like that field demands it a bit more, because they have to print the scores for people to play them.
Exactly.
You know, for like a live orchestra, and so that is so limiting. And listening to him talk about the approach, sometimes I feel like, man, that's rough, because he's thinking in a way like where he's free to think in one way, but he has to like push himself to be like, no, but now I have to think into this, like it doesn't fit into this time signature, or I need to see how I'm gonna write this out. Would it even make sense to write it out for someone else to interpret? Because some shit gets so fun, like, you know, when you're listening to like a crazy jazz solo, right? Or any solo for whatever, and then if you see the theory for it, sometimes though it's kind of like all over the place, because it doesn't follow the theory, like it doesn't make sense, like it's not meant to make sense right there, right?
Exactly.
But sometimes when it sucks when people are put into the position where they have to put the theory first, because it is like that super limiting thing of like, oh no, we have to consider this, or we have to think this, and I can't stand that.
Yeah, me too, man. And it's like you said, some stuff was never meant to be written. Like, especially in jazz, man, like the drummers, even the piano players and the saxophone players, like that stuff was never meant to be written. It was meant to be, if you're going to try to transcribe what they're doing, it should be by ear. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're doing it by paper, it won't feel good. It'll be playing exactly what they played. You know, you'll be able to get that down, but it'll be stiff. It won't feel like creative and musical. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's just making it feel good. That's why there should be no rules. I mean, I understand theory because that really helps people to put things into place and to put a name to certain stuff. But there should be no
rules. It's the label
rules.
argument.
Exactly.
Sometimes labeling things is what clouds it up, like messes it up.
Right, and it makes it.
That's
it does
very true.
make it easier to communicate sometimes, especially in like a band setting. So it's good for that. But it should never be something that
is like limiting.
Yeah, exactly.
It should be for that benefit of like, okay, like for the benefit of like to organize, not necessarily to be like, nah, this is all this could be.
Exactly.
And that's what it kind of dwindles between sometimes, which is like the hard part.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
But that's interesting.
Exactly, man. Yep.
I had a few questions about like the drum scene now though, because I know we talked a little bit about like Anderson .Paak, but I want to get some of your feelings about like how it's became on the rise, like since I feel like Anderson .Paak and like a lot of the drumming since then. Like I know you probably would know about it because you kind of a lot on the forefront of that. Like I don't know too many drummer artists that are like independent that are doing it outside of you. And like someone I really looked up to doing it was Anderson .Paak because I never seen it before that. You know what I'm saying? It was like,
yeah. I mean, today, the drum scene, the music scene, just period, is bigger than it's ever been. I feel like there's more drummers in the world than there's ever been, which is great. And it's a bad thing too because it's made the competition more steep. For people that want to do this full time, it's like you have to be able to like really be on your grind as far as your social media presence, being at shows, networking with people, stuff like that. So it's good, you know what I'm saying? Because for me, like I'm inspired by a lot of people, you know what I'm saying? Anderson .Paak is like one of a kind, you know what I'm saying? And like I don't think there's anybody really like him. I think that there are like drummers that are producers, you know what I'm saying? And I think that some of them are producers because they realize that in music you can't make that much money. You know what I'm saying? It's just be real. Like some drummers, like they think that, you know, because they have an ear for music and other instruments that they should be producers, which is probably true. And because it makes more money. You can't make a living just being a drummer by yourself. Like unless you're going to be like on American Idol or like some TV show drummer or like be on tour for the rest of your life, which is not going to happen unless you have some great connection or something. But yeah, man, I feel like it's great. It's inspiring. Anderson .Paak, just to go back to him, like he's bigger than drums to me. You know what I'm saying? Because he is just somebody that just appreciates good music, like the No Worries tape. I mean, like that was life changing for me because it's like, dude, these beats are so weird, and you make it work, and you bring it together, and now I see people, just regular people who don't know anything about music, listening to that stuff. Like those beats, some of those beats were really weird, and it's stuff I would listen to by itself, but everybody else,
like the idea of someone that kind of is regarded on that level of like artistry going that route so early and so like good, like doing it. So I loved it. Like that was something that was like really like inspiring to me personally, because I felt like I dwelled in a lot of that weird realm of stuff, but I didn't know if I could necessarily mesh it into like something palatable that people would really like. But he really showed like in a lot of ways that it's like it's just about capturing the best moments of this, like kind of like what we already tapped on. Right. It was kind of like a little way of proving it, because I feel like that had to come out around the time when we were first starting. That No Worries, I remember that.
Yeah.
And
that tape was phenomenal.
And I remember that it was really kind of cementing it for me that like it can be something that you see, like you and your producer see in the stew, and y'all in there excited about, and like it can result in being like, oh damn, we killed that, like people really liked it, like I felt it. I was like, oh, you guys locked in here and created something, like, and had fun with it. They had all these skits, like all these parts, like I feel like they had Dr. Dre call in on one part on that little phone thing where he was like, hey yo, they're back.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, man, like listening to stuff like that, it just really, like, it's inspiring because it just verifies to me that I can do whatever I want. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know that as a drummer or as an artist, producer, whatever, that I'm not aspiring to be an average producer. I don't want to make average beats. I don't want to make regular stuff. You know what I'm saying? So when I hear stuff like that, it's like, man, so I can go out the box a little bit and do what I want to do freely without thinking, oh, somebody might not listen to this because it's a little bit weird. Nah,
it's
man.
almost, they just got to feel like you love it.
Exactly.
Like, you know, like they got to hear it and see like, wow, you really put your all into this when you were in there. Like,
exactly.
And that translates most of the time.
Right.
What the comes to see.
It
Absolutely.
really does.
Yeah.
It 100% does. I feel like it, because that's how you get the emotion from it. You know what I mean? That's how, and I feel like that goes into how we're saying, like, certain music, it can't be written because when you replay it, it's stiff because you're trying to imitate this that they were just flown into and they were just letting loose and getting this full emotion. If you're not doing that same thing, you're not going to hit it the same way.
Right.
You know?
Exactly. That's very true.
But those feelings, that feeling that you can hear, that's why I feel like we're able to connect with it. And so when if you really just jam out, someone's going to feel that emotion, like, no matter what it sounds like.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly.
Another question I had was kind of regarding collaboration versus like solo, because I've seen you've done like songs on your own now, like as like your own tracks, and now I've seen your band too, like the 98
Yep.
is gonna say, I don't say it wrong, but I feel like I had a question, like what is your mindset in going about like creating like a 98 song versus creating like an Ant song, or working with somebody else, or is it kind of just like you see how it goes, you get other people on if it's like
right? Yeah, it's different every time. Like me and my band, we haven't really came together and made like a lot of music. You know, like we have some stuff recorded that's not finished, but it's been like there's probably 5 or 6 of us, right? But my friend Brandon and Tommy, they're both rappers. We make music together all the time. But then I do something separately with, you know, my friend Rennie or my friend Josh. So we haven't all came together and made like something together yet, which is what I'm working on this year that I want to do. But as far as collaborating with people, like I think the big thing is like understanding their vision first, and like putting my ego, or if there is ego, putting that to the side first, is understanding what they want to do and understanding like my place and what they want to do. You know what I'm saying? That's the most important thing. Because even like when I do shows and stuff like that with other people, you know what I'm saying? Like it's all about what the artist wants at the end of the day, because like we said, it's a creative, you know, space. You know what I'm saying? So it's very emotional driven. So I just feel like, that's the most important thing, is just to know what they want and just figure out your place in it. And once you do that, you know.
So even with the 98 band, there's you do side projects with both of them, like people within there.
Yeah.
Separately.
So me, Rennie, she actually plays keys. So we always work together, you know, do stuff together. Brandon, my homie, we're working on an EP for him now.
That's
Tommy, he's gonna be on my new EP that's coming out in July. Josh, he's gonna be on that too. He doesn't know it yet, but he's gonna be on it.
That's dope.
Yeah, so we're just friends, man. You know, we just make music together. But the thing I really want to do with these guys is really get in the studio and create something all together at once. You know what I'm saying? We've done shows together, and like I know what the sound we have is going to sound like. It's just a matter of getting us all together at the same time. So
that's what I'm about. I mean, I think I founded this with Mauricio on the idea of getting everyone together on songs and things, because I kind of saw that as something we've already been doing and I already kind of like thought about, but then I saw that as a way out, almost like a way we can continue to grow.
Right. Because
it's like ever expanding. Like the more people I meet and the more people that have kind of like I know at least on even the close level of friends was very different music taste. Like it was everybody that had like is in this genre, you know, someone that's a piano player, somebody that's and I was like, if I can combine all this together, and I can kind of keep doing it and keep introducing different voices, like it'll kind of, I think we were kind of gonna build a brand off of that, and that's really like something I feel like right now we've planned a little bit to start to get back into, because you know we did one like we're our training camp series, but now we're really been making a lot of music like with you and a lot of other people famous, and like kind of really trying to make maybe like another tape coming soon of like, I think with a lot of them like some of the style that we were making the sounds we're making, but like a new one of just all different sounds, because I remember we were talking about that, like a new compilation. But I feel like we might want to start a new series. That's something we haven't really touched on, like outside of our training camp series.
That'd be dope, for sure.
We haven't decided that yet, but
yeah, man, for sure. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, what you were saying though about working with other people. Like that's another thing why I like working with the people that I work with, is because every time that me and Rennie get together, I go home thinking, okay, this is a new way to do this. Or like with Josh, or especially with you know, Brandon, because I mean that dude, he's such a like, you know, inspiring dude because he knows so much. And usually when we work together, I'm always engineering for that. So it just teaches me how to do that better, and it just teaches me like a rapper's mindset, you know what I'm saying, which is always something, you know, that's good to know, especially if you're gonna be making beats for rappers.
I'm sure Mauricio could tell you on that. I'm sure you've engineered pretty much everything I've done in the last year, bro. Last years.
Yeah, I mean, it's been awesome. It's amazing. I'm like you said, you learn so much, like seeing that, and so a large part of, is this still on? Okay. A large part of it is, it's experience. Like you learn of like how to, like the recording process of like how to streamline it, make it a little bit more smooth if possible, because that helps a lot. You know, kind of setting the vibe, understanding like for music to come out right, you got to set the vibe. So it's about seeing how I set the vibe up for other people allows me to set the vibe up for myself. So when I got to work on my own stuff, you know what I mean? I'm like, all right, I know that this all needs to be in place so that I could just get going.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
But on that is just like on setting the location, but now like on the tip of like production or, you know, like making a beat. Because like I'll make a lot of stuff, but not everything I make is necessarily tailored for rapping or tailored for even certain genres or styles of like, you know, with Wesley. So sometimes it's being on my own, kind of like selective of like, what do I think Wesley would like,
right?
You know what I mean? And being able to determine by ear, like I think these couple he'll go with, and then from there, more often than not, it might be like one or two of them that be like, okay, and it's like, I knew it. Like I knew that one was gonna be the one, because sometimes like you throw them out. Like I remember when I was in music school, they were like, whenever you're sending beats out, you send 3 beats, right? You send one that's basically like one that's okay, one that's flames, and then one that's pretty good. You know what I mean? And then you do it because when they listen to one, it'll always be like, you know, kind of which one you have a feeling that they're gonna kind of gravitate toward, and so you put it there, and it's just kind of like the other ones are confirmation into it. They're like, okay, this one's sick, but nah, this one just kind of has that ring to it.
Exactly.
But then also part of the learning process is I've been wrong with that. So sometimes I'm like, I think this one's gonna really hit.
Because we be doing wild stuff.
Yeah, and then Wesley will come, you know, out of left field, and so that like working with him has really made me kind of reconsider. Sometimes I'm like, all right, maybe this one isn't what he's thinking on. Maybe I got to go with this wave. Maybe I got to go with this wave. So so that was, you know, learning on like, what is it, like catering towards the rapper, like, you know, you're saying like the rapper's mindset of like how they're gonna get into the music, what do they like, and then being able to use that also when I worked with other like friends of ours, like or other vocalists, they come through, like it's kind of like knowing, all right, this is kind of like the style that they're gonna be more inclined to, or this is gonna be something that is gonna be a little bit more easy for the artist to get into.
It's very pattern based and like on moods. Like now I think about it, like I've even started to kind of think like, damn, you've gotten a lot better at that. Like over the times I'm realizing like how like certain samples and things like really affect me in a way and like my mood and stuff. Cause like on certain beats it's really like that. Like I like beats and stuff like that, but there's certain elements of a beat, like a sample or something that just even sounds like like a soul flip or anything like kind of delayed, like with a little like wait a minute, like just like something about that just like kind of like automatically like drops my brain into a certain zone. And I think you've gotten good at that, knowing like what sounds do that, and then like incorporating them into the beats, because then it'll be like you'll like put a new pack of beats and I'll just be like, dang, all of these got like that thing in them. Yeah, like, you know what I mean? Like, why do they all got that thing in them? Like,
sometimes when it is like they all got that thing, it's like also when I send packs like that, is usually I get in like zones and moods, right? So sometimes I'll just put them all in like that, like those 4 beats, like I'll make 4 in like a day, or like 4 in an hour, like whatever, and they just sometimes it's like a recurring theme, or sometimes it's not. But that's funny that you're like
noticing the Hi Judy one is the one that made me think of that, with the Zam song.
Okay.
That song is like good, bro. But
yeah, man, I feel the same way with Brandon, because like you'll sit there, you'll make what you think is a fire beat, and you'll be like, hey bro, I just emailed you a beat, let me know what you think. He's like, it's alright, it's cool, send me what else you got. So now, or something will be like, I'll send a beat and he'll be like, or we'll be in person and he'll be like, so what you want me to write about? I'm like, you the rapper? I don't know, you tell me. But then it's like, now I'm starting to learn, like, okay, if I'm gonna show him a beat, then I need to have some kind of idea of what I want for it, because sometimes if you're producing for somebody, you have to kind of guide them a little bit, you know what I'm saying? So at first I was just like sending beats. I was like, whatever you want to write about, bro, it's up to you. You're the rapper. You make it happen. So
I think that's something that you can kind of touch on, because we've been starting to work with some more folks, and like in some of those instances, it's sometimes people come in. It depends. Like every artist is different. Some people come in with knowing they have their own idea already, or they're just there to kind of work with what you got and kind of build from there.
Right.
And so I feel like Wesley,
I think,
and even you've always written for other folks as well.
That's what I was gonna say. I think I've kind of always found myself on the other end of that, and I didn't realize that I could produce songs until I started to like do that. And I think as of now, I've started to help other people a lot with that. Right. Because I always felt like I always thought like that's what you're supposed to do. Like as like the rapper, like you just like you got to come with a concept. Right. But then I also understood sometimes when I couldn't come up with a concept, that like I just always needed like a push. Like I always needed like a one. Like I liked playing that game where when I was a kid, people used to throw words out and then we'd freestyle and then come up with something, and you throw words as you're freestyling. Right. So sometimes I just need that, like just the one, like, all right, we going to the park and we doing this. Right. And it's like, and then I'm good and I got our whole concept. But so I understand both sides of it, where it's like, damn, sometimes you need just a pinch of direction. But then I realized, I guess now I'm at the point where a lot of people come in and they're like, at what you're saying, like they need like some type of like thing sometimes to like
what more than a pinch.
Yeah, like a little more than a pinch. And it's like, and at times a producer, I realize, is the person that kind of has that on deck, like that can really be like, that can be like, okay, I know this person can sing, I know this person can play the beat, and I know we can make the song. We just gotta like hear everybody, hear what they could do. All right, we gonna make a song about this. You gotta sing this part that's about this right here and sing it like this. And it kind of just, and I low-key studied everybody who did that like in life, and I was like, and I was, once I realized that was a thing, I was like, shit, this is what I want to do forever, because I like doing this shit. Like it's fun, bro.
And that makes me think of like when I first heard like the Freddie Gibbs and Madlib, I'm like, the second one, well, I guess they're both kind of weird, but I'm like, he had to have guided him on this. Like he had to have showed him, or like gave him like a little push, because some of that stuff, especially if you know Freddie, I mean, some of that stuff is up for argument that you'll be able to say like you would never hear him rapping on. You know what I'm saying? Like some of that stuff, especially
like the styles and stuff,
the
like
styles,
he goes on there, it's not like, it's unique for, it's set to that brand or whatever, like, right? He only raps on those beats with Madlib.
Exactly. So you know what I'm saying, like he, and anybody really that raps over Madlib beats, or Alchemist, it's like you need some type of like push all the time. I mean, some guys can just come into it and just, you know, just rap and do what they do, but because their beats are so specific, and it's like very
I got a theory though.
Yeah,
I think that they record mad songs. Like if I would go at it, I would see that they probably record a lot of songs until they find like where he was kind of saying with the beats, like a pattern.
Yeah.
because I think what you're saying, like kind of like a push, almost like conceptual wise, because they happen to be conceptual projects, and it's kind of be like, how is he gonna decide to be like, you know what, this is the full concepts of this? But I feel like they must just record, because Madlib bangs out mad beats, and they probably just rearrange them until it's like, this is a fucking story right here, like.
Right. It's interesting. This got me thinking. You said Madlib and Alchemist, right? And it pushes people to kind of have to consider going in a certain way, and like they were saying, like the conceptualness, and I feel like a lot of it is just the style. Like as you think, like the boom bap, the traditional like New York street style of production, like it has that rawness to it that promotes like conscious rap, or like kind of more conceptual rap sometimes.
Right.
And so like more often than not, when you listen to any song that has like that kind of instrumentation in the back, like it pushes people, or you hear it, like more often than not, rarely do I feel like that I'm gonna hear something that's a little bit more like, you know, poppy, or like on those style of beats, because those kind of push you, and so I feel like
that brings it out of them almost.
Yeah, like, exactly.
That's true too. That's true too.
So it's great because these guys, those producers like Madlib and Alchemist, are so fucking good at what they do. Like those are, you know, at the top of the game.
Now that you explain it that way, I could see it, because I could see how the certain samples he's picking and the amount of room he gives them on the track, and the bond that he has with the producer, being somebody that he feels like, every time I get with you, I gotta talk about my real life.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like having that, and then him playing the songs where it's like, I'm gonna play some samples that's gonna make you think about your real life, like, and then leave you enough room to talk about it. Yeah, I think that's just how it comes.
Yeah, I agree. And I agree with that, because even with Brandon, like, there's just some beats you don't have to say anything. He just knows what he just just press record, just goes, because sometimes the music speaks by itself. You don't need to say, oh well, right here you start off with rapping like this and then go like this, you know what I'm saying? It just, the concept is in
put you in that mood.
Yeah, it's in the music.
And I could see that crazy, like on that song Practice.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like that beat just puts you in the mood to where it doesn't even really need to be organized in a way. Like it probably put him in that mood to rap that verse, and then it became the song.
Yeah.
He was like, damn.
Yeah, man. Rappers are very vibe driven. If there's no vibe, they're not gonna rap, so they're not gonna write nothing.
That's facts. It's facts.
Yeah, you know that more than anybody. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. I think I could rap a lot, but it's not gonna be like the best. Yeah, if I'm not like, it depends on whatever mood you're in.
Gotta be in the mood,
right?
You know?
Yeah, exactly. Like I could come out with it, but I think even at some point, I don't know where I was at. I think at some point in Hawaii, someone told me to rap on spot, and I think I did. But I don't remember if it was good or not. But I remember I definitely rapped. Like at some point
when we.
Oh no, that was with you, right?
And we were in line yesterday.
Okay. That was with you. I was like, that was literally just a few days ago.
Yeah, but I was like, that was clean. I mean, that was a clean little freestyle that you pulled off.
I haven't done that in
a
minute. But that was hilarious though.
Hey man,
we were vibing though at that point, but it was like, but kind of go relating to that, like it goes. I feel like rappers are artists as well. So same way, like as you as a drummer or as just a musician in general. Like if someone told you to play right now, like you could do it. You could put out something nice, but for you to really like get into it and put out something that you feel is really good, like you got to be in the right mindset for it.
Yeah, like I even listen to recordings of myself playing, like for studio stuff, and I can tell you like what mindset I was in. It's like sometimes like, oh yeah, I was right that day, man. My mind was right. Sometimes like, okay, I was just recording just because somebody needs something done, you know. So yeah, it's definitely different. You could definitely hear it. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it just goes back to it being an emotional, music being so emotional driven. If you're not driven by the emotion, it's like, what are you driven by? Even if you're not an emotional person, and I don't deem to be myself as super emotional or anything like that, but you gotta put that in the music. You know what I'm saying? Because that speaks to everybody. So
even in sports, we make a lot of parallels to sports, and you can tell the people who put the emotion into their games and stuff. You can see Kobe and like just him really into it, but it's because it's like, if you're not really giving that extra percent into it, you don't really like love it to the degree that you could possibly be the best at.
Exactly. Goes back to the passion too. You gotta be passionate about it too, man. If you're not either of those things, it's like, why are you doing it? You know? So, yeah, man.
I think before we get into the life affirmation segment, I think the only last thing I didn't really talk about was like the importance of playing the instrument, but we kind of talked about instruments a lot. But I feel like we could just share a little bit on like, you know, like, so I feel like, you know, for people out there, like, what is the importance and what is like the tool in having that added bonus when it comes to, you know, now, like, oh, I play this.
I will say, when I was, just on a quick note, when I was young and like I was saying, like my mom or my parents got me into this. My mom really got me into this. She knew that I was like half interested in piano, but it was more so because she had really heard that being in piano helps you with like your math skills and like just comprehension if you learn it at a young age and stuff. And so there is like that aspect to it, like learning musical instruments like does promote brain activity, and it does promote like certain skills that transfer over later in life.
Right.
But
yeah, I agree, man. I feel like anytime I deal with math, I don't know, I feel like music comes to mind just the slightest. You know what I'm saying? Like anytime I'm dealing with any situation where I have to like I don't know, like dealing with patterns, music comes to mind. Patterns come to mind in my head. It's just one of those things that it's just a tool that you can use, you know what I'm saying? And like it's important. I mean, you know, especially for producers. If you're a producer that has never picked up an instrument, to me that's weird.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I feel like I'm on Twitch a lot too, so I watch a lot of producers. And there's this dude, and he's never picked up an instrument, never did anything with the instrument. And I'm just like, how can you, not to say like your stuff isn't good, but I feel like you need that experience. You need that just that time with an instrument just to be able to like really be about this thing.
Like that could kind of open up his production.
It will open up you know, your mind and like just your creative side, because what you do on the laptop and stuff like that, it will always sound good, but you can't really have your own unique style unless you are one with the music. You know what I'm saying? Like, man, I used to listen to stuff when I was a kid. It used to make me so excited to play an instrument. Like, I would listen to stuff and be like, okay, man, like, when I was a kid, I would listen to certain bass players and be like, bro, that sounds amazing. Like, I gotta go buy a bass. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like you just have to do that. And then just for everybody, I mean, even if you're not a musician, I mean, it just really helps you to open up a creative side that's in you. You know what I'm saying? For people that have never played music, there's a side about them that they have never experienced. And if they've never picked up, and if they never do in the future, they will never know about that side of them. So that's why it's important.
We got another one for real.
Yeah.
That is true though. It's very true. Very, very true.
Yeah, man.
It was like that just made me think of like this little tangent of the disconnect of, because he doesn't have, that producer that you're saying didn't have that physical like response, like that physical connection to it. Right. And I feel like that is something that we as humans like need and are kind of losing as the digital age kind of comes more and more into the world. Right. You know, and so we have the capabilities of doing things like this that, like, like the digital, like even like talking to somebody, right? Like saying like a FaceTime or a text or whatever, like it can kind of work, or like text works better with this, where it's kind of like you said, like you can throw stuff out there and it means something, but if you're not there in person, you don't get that same feeling. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it's a thing of like almost anything, even like banking, you know what I mean? It's right. A little random thing, right? Yeah, I could do, like take online pictures of the check or go to ATMs and do stuff like that, and I do it to convenience sometimes, but personally, like preferably if I can and I have the time, I like to go in and just have that little personal interaction. Exactly. Like little things like that, like it just keeps it alive and it keeps me feeling human and keeps me kind of like feeling like that, the life vibes. And being too much digital and transitioning too much to digital things takes that away, and it's kind of like I feel like I'm losing something by not being able to do it in person.
Yeah, I mean, and that just relates back to like, for me, like I try not to put too much, even in music. Like in my music, I want to have both aspects, because I feel like one aspect, which is the acoustic side of music, is dying. You know what I'm saying? It's been dying since, you know, I don't know, like the last probably 20-30 years maybe. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Every genre of music had live music in it. Now that's not the case anymore. So I don't want that to die, especially being a drummer. So I always try to add
bring
that
it
in.
back, bro.
Yeah, I always try to add that in my music.
Shout out to the homegirl Zam. We actually want to do some acoustic like videos and stuff. Have you seen like how like R&B singers now have been doing their like outside performances?
That's
and
dope.
Like I've been seeing that, and I think we've been filming videos, and we're kind of trying to like film one low key.
Dope, bro. Yeah, man. If y'all want to do it with drums, let me know.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Let
down,
me know,
bro.
for sure.
Because this has actually helped us a lot, this podcast, and like getting in experience and like just filming stuff on the phone, and like this will helping me edit it from there, and it's kind of just been like a little bit of a great learning experience because it's kind of showing us like what we can and can't do on our own.
Exactly.
And, like it's a lot, bro. It's a lot.
Yeah, definitely, bro.
But yeah. So for the life affirmation segment, I hope everybody's got to thinking. I know it's been a while since me and Mauricio have done it, so I'm sure we'll have like different stuff to say. But this is the time when we go around and talk about something we look at differently in the past month or week or year, whatever. But I think I'll start off, and I'll probably go with something I look at differently in the past. I'll say like 2 weeks because I went on a vacation and I graduated. So I think there's definitely a few things I look at differently. I feel like I look at money differently.
Yeah.
I think I was thinking about money like a little bit before, and I was thinking about it after, as far as just like we had talks about it with the whole Bitcoin and all that stuff going on in the weeks like prior. I think now I really look at it as something that, as much as it is a tool, I see it as it being what you make it. Like I see the corruption in it more so than I did at points in times. Like I was kind of like, nah, this is just a tool. But now I kind of see that it is what you make it. Like you need a steady flow of it to continue with whatever you're doing. But it really does make a lot of the decisions that you have to make in life pop up ahead of you. I think that's kind of what I've been realizing, that like it's on you to make those decisions, but money can kind of get you in the positions to have like those questions in front of you of like, oh, do you want to go this path or do you want to go that path? Mm-hmm. And like that's kind of the way I've been looking at it now. It's like the little toll fee to get to the next little like decision in your life. Like
it's leverage. It's leverage to be able to get you somewhere else. You either have, because money in its like in a weird way is power. You know what I mean? And it's that power to do something. That power to, like you said, have that option.
That's the part I've been kind of, I guess, uncertain on looking at it. And I've been kind of grasping it more in that light, like the power I guess money maybe could give you. Right. It's something I was kind of like a little bit naive to. I'm like, well, damn, that shit is powerful.
I love myself.
It is. It's scary how powerful it is, because the only thing that comes close to it is relationships.
Yeah.
You know, you could get by in this world without having to spend a dime if you knew the right person for everything. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And so whilst that is like a possibility, like it's one of those things where it's less dependent on, like, sadly, like society isn't based on very relational. You know what I mean? Capitalism doesn't promote like super relation, like, so just like, but that's just like a general thing, like the world we live in type deal, right? So as a result, like it almost like it tips that balance of like, all right, you kind of need money to make those moves because relationships are so hard to come by in certain cases. You know what I mean?
That's what I was realizing. Like I've always was putting the power on necessarily the relationships and the connections, but I'm starting to understand that money gets you into certain places to make more relationships and connections.
Exactly. Yeah, it's a bridge to everything. You know what I'm saying? It's a bridge to different social classes and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Sadly, it is. I hate that, it is.
Out here, it's kind of hard to see because you can get so far with nothing.
Exactly.
That it's like, it almost gets blurred at times. Like, but then you kind of travel a little bit and you really start to see like how it stretches and shit. And it's like, wow, this shit just stretches crazy, the reach that money can give you.
Right.
But at the same time, it's like you happen to be in the right location and shit. You may look at like it's very accessible.
Exactly. That's very true, man. Yeah, I would have to say, I guess mine would be time. Time, because basically, I guess I've started feeling different about it since the pandemic. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a person that, like, I like to stay busy. Like, I don't like to ever sit still. And if I sit still, I start to feel guilty. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not doing enough. So it's really helped me to slow things down. and really, practice patience. You know what I'm saying? Like, I've been trying to put out another EP. I was actually trying to put out my second EP the same year my first EP dropped, because I just want, keep it coming. But, obviously stuff gets in the way and life gets in the way, and just other things are important at the moment, you know what I'm saying? And then sometimes you're just not ready for certain things, and you just have to be patient, and you just have to embrace patience. You know what I'm saying? You got to embrace like the downtime. And I hate that it has to be done that way, but you have no other choice. You know what I'm saying? So just anything in my life, man, like that I'm working on now, it is taking a lot of time. It just seems like nowadays it's taking more time than it should take. But this teaches me patience, man. Yeah, exactly.
You are,
exactly.
Bro.
Yeah, man.
It's just as you're just saying, like sometimes you got to let time do its thing.
Yeah.
'Cause it's like you got to be ready to seize the moments, and like don't be like lazy when they come to seize.
Right.
But sometimes like I've always learned that like experiencing life really does focus you. Sometimes like letting time for like you to have some experiences really does get you in that like, okay, I know exactly what I need to do.
Exactly. And then sometimes too, like even rushing it, you know what I'm saying? Like just putting yourself in positions that you're just not ready for, but you're just so excited and so hyped for it, that you're just willing to do anything. And it's like that makes you look crazy. There's times where I put myself in positions where I just wasn't ready for those specific situations, but I just want to rush it so much. I'm just like, just has to happen now. It's like if things, the mindset I'm getting out of is if things don't happen now, I felt like back then if things didn't happen now, then they'll never happen. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes I feel like, man,
I'm big on that because I feel like I get nervous of that, like of being in those situations and being like, nah, I could have just waited on this and really killed this prepared wise.
Exactly.
But I was trying to just get everything I could right now.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's even when it comes to like being a musician altogether. Like I felt like, coming up, I wanted to be like professional drummer at 18, and I wanted to be on the tours doing nothing but music at 18. And now I'm 23, and sometimes I used to think about like, man, like I'm late, I'm already too old. But now I look at the guys, when I tell the older guys, they're like, bro, you're just on time. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just now starting to open up with opportunities, and they're in their 30s.
Yeah, I meet a lot of musicians like that. They're really just like, man, it's just getting going for me. Like, or in your school even, I bet you met a lot of guys like that.
No, it's true. There is a lot of folk, like, it's interesting to see the folks that are, because it's a fine line, because there's a couple folks that you see do it and stay committed,
right,
and it's amazing. But then they're also like, how can I say this? Because this is like on something where like I'm thinking of like the idea of a plan A or a plan B distraction with plan A, right? And so these folks, a lot of folks that are getting really into it and that are 40, 50 years in, and they still haven't blown up in some way. It's kind of like you see it deterring, like,
right?
You see it and you're just like, that sucks. But then it's also like seeing it from their perspective of what their level of success is, or what their level of like goals are, and then they're like, sometimes it is just about being in the scene. And that's like the beautiful thing about artists and like about this industry as a whole, is that there's certain folks that will do it just because they love it, not because like that it's like their career choice or like what they're doing as like that they're hoping that they're gonna, ideally they hope in the back of their mind that something blows up, but at the end of the day, like they don't mind just doing like the small gigs at the certain bars or certain things like that, and that's cool. And it's like a thing of like, that's like their level of success with it. Mm-hmm. But then I feel like it's just about constantly working towards your goals. So it doesn't matter, like you can get into it at 30, 40, 50, 60, but it's just pushing towards it and working towards it. So even if it's like super late in life, you can still keep getting into it. But
I think the motivation, I think within that comes from like someone at that point who is like older in it, but then things are opening up for them, kind of looking at you and saying that like, wow, you're focused at a time when I wasn't focused, and like therefore you probably are gonna be way up here.
That's
by
true,
the time I think like that's kind of like what I'm touching on, because it's interesting. Like that part about it is very interesting, because it's like I feel like that shit does weigh a lot. Like it is what you make it, but it does weigh a lot the time at what age and when you are focused. At your prime focus, you know, because a lot of fools don't get locked into that until whenever, and then like you said, whenever you do though, you can do it, and you see it, like they do it at that point in time whenever they're, but like they get wowed at like heads that are like doing it at this age, because it's like that shit's kind of a little rare to be like early on it, and we feel like it's late, but like for them, they're like, nah, bro, like you really are actually you really kind of early on it, because it doesn't matter. You're only early because it's like it's a matter of like mind rather than time.
Exactly.
Well, when they say that they're early on it like that, I'm thinking in like from their perspective of when they're the older head, and they're saying like, oh yo, that's lit. Like it's more often than not because they either weren't in the position themselves to get into it that early, or
they just weren't focused.
They weren't focused on it. But seeing that they're like that person is focused on it, like that's the key point. The point is just being like focusing in on the plan, and like for some folks is the ones that see like, oh yeah,
that should take some time though.
It's
for
just
most
about staying
people.
committed. Yeah. But
I think like getting into that mindset though is like the part that like is like the human thing that we all, I'm noticing about everybody, like in whatever field it is like it takes, that's why they make the maturity thing. I think because it's like it takes different times for people to get into that mature mindset about whatever the fuck it is.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the biggest challenge, I think.
Well, I feel like the mature mindset is to see like where they grow from it, but like I don't know. It's
like maturity is most people's biggest challenge. Like it's not doing the shit. It's being mature enough to be like, oh shit, I should like focus on this.
Yeah, and I feel like it's also
niggas go until they're adults not doing that shit. You know what I'm saying? Like
that's true. I feel like it also has to do a lot with that one thing that puts you in position to be mature. Like the one thing that makes you want to be mature. The one thing that makes you want to decide to be mature.
That's a good point.
You know what I'm saying? Like that plays a huge part too. I feel like because I mean, whether we know it or not, there's always that one thing we have that leads us here to where we are now. Like as far as our hard work, why we work so hard. There's a little thing about it, you know what I'm saying? Either whether it was somebody that we know that's doing the same thing as us, and it's like, man, like, or even deeper than that, because motivation only lasts for so long. You know what I'm saying? I feel like being inspired is really what allows you to keep going, because being motivated is you could be motivated today to work all night tonight. You're tired tomorrow, and you're, you know, so proud of what you did last night. It's like it's no reason to be motivated.
That touches on what you were first saying. Like it starts at what you're like, what you love.
Exactly.
Like it starts at like what you like, with this, and then therefore there's motherfuckers that'll do this for years to go on, like forever as long, because it's like that's what it starts at. Like just like, oh, I love this, I'll do this forever.
Exactly. And like when you love what you do, the definition of work becomes a completely different definition. Like when you work at something you love, in something you love, that definition of work is not just working. It's a completely different definition than just regular work. You know what I'm saying? Because you'll always do what you love, no matter how hard you have to work for it. So
that's true. No, that's true.
Yeah.
What about you?
Man, I'm torn between two. But this one, I feel like this one would be interesting to talk about with you, because you grew up in a very, with the church background.
Right.
Having myself, I like, just like Wes, I went to private school as, I went to a Catholic school for, like, from kinder to 6th grade. And then, I've always had, like, my religious family kind of there. So it's always that moral compass to an extent of, like, wanting to do good and, having those ethics taught by my parents and stuff.
Right.
And so something that I've been half wrestling about is like conveying when you do something out of like the goodness of your own heart, and you go and you tell a friend, like, because this is like on a smaller scale of like, how when you see people say like they're doing like the homeless videos, right, or like they're going giving out money to random people and they're filming themselves doing it. It's kind of like, that's not altruistic. That's you're doing it for
self-purpose? Are you doing it for like trying to get the likes, trying to get like the whatever it may be, right?
Yeah.
And so then I was thinking about it. Does that same kind of like core concept apply to even just relating something to friends and family? Like when you have like a day, like you know, you go through your day and you go home and you talk to somebody about like what happened, like, oh, this happened,
Right.
If you did something that you feel is altruistic or like outside, like going extra above and beyond, is telling somebody else about it like then feeding into like your self-ego of just being like, okay, I did this so I could come and kind of tell you, like, not that you did it to come and tell that person, but like that you have that you're using that as a thing. And so it kind of really spiraled me into thinking of like,
it's good,
how hard is it to like to be open about that kind of stuff? Because I'm being critical of, like, I'm saying, like, seeing the videos of people going and doing these things, and it's kind of like, but at a certain point, if I don't, like, say I do something and I don't tell anybody, that's cool, like, that's great, but like it creates say if everyone did that, then no one would say anything to anybody. You know what I mean? Like, what if we all just did our own thing and just didn't communicate with others? And so it's kind of finding, it was like, I don't even know where, like, I lie in this line. I'm just kind of just constantly wrestling of like, how much sharing is too much sharing, or like how much sharing is right, almost. I don't know how to say that.
I think, man, that's a really good point, man, because I think to answer your question about like if you telling somebody is wrong or right, and I think that it's a little bit of both. I feel like telling somebody about what you've done for somebody else can be good because you're excited about what you did for someone else, not because of you being selfish, but because you just like to help people. And the bad side about it is your own intuition, and it's like, oh, I'm doing this because I want to show off. I want them to know, oh, I did something for so-and-so. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I feel like if you really have it's all where your own personal, what your own agenda is. You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like you don't have, you can tell people, like I've told people, but I'm not going to do it all the time because it's like, I don't want it to seem like I'm bragging. And I know that if I'm truly a good person, what I do, that would just be what people know me for. There's never have to be something I have to tell anybody or discuss with anybody. They'll just know me for doing that because I've done it so many times, you know? So every once in a while I might say something, but you know, not a lot, because I just want that to be what people know me for without me saying a thing.
Yeah,
you know?
Actions speak louder than words.
Exactly.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
For me, I feel like it depends. It depends who. I don't think everyone I should share everything with, but I feel like almost for me, maybe I'm just like messed up. I think there's like I need like a particular person I should share most things with, but not all the time. Right. Only because I feel like I get overwhelmed with all the shit rather than on some like let the actions speak louder than words. Like I've always like never like liked that term as like a kid, because I've always felt like it just never did me justice. Like I was always like, you know, like I gotta say something. Yeah. But I think like part of that could be ego. So at times I try to just like share like I try to share like the important stuff, but I feel like there's something to that. I don't know. I feel like there's something to recollecting it for me, because I feel like at times I do get to try to be in the moment and like try to be very much so just like, and I don't often go back and be like, yo, what happened so and so. So I feel like journaling is something that I've like someone's put me on that like helps with that, where I get on my more actions speak louder than words vibe, because it's like, all right, I could write down everything that went down and it's kind of, I'm content with it. But without like some sort of outlet, I do feel like it does sometimes get a little bit overwhelming. Without and not being able to recollect and process the day in the way you may want to like recollect and process it, because then you might be like want to be like, oh damn, this is what happened then, like, oh I remember I felt this way about that or whatever. But some people don't even want to do any of that. They want to just keep going, because it's like if they step back, it's too much of a. So I'm kind of like that too. So that's why it's like I tend to, if I can share, but it depends who. Like it depends on personality of the person. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not trying to share like with someone that doesn't want to be shared, because then it's not necessarily gonna make you feel like like the same feeling. Like, you know what I'm saying? But if like sometimes like I like to like read too. So I feel like it's like another form of that, like learning other things about like other people's shit.
Right.
I think it's a fine line though, right? Like,
It is a fine line. That's the thing. 'Cause I agree with you like wholeheartedly in that it's so difficult to like really get that from someone like to really be able to
like gauge that, like,
Yeah.
though, like, you know, like if it's like they want to hear all this right now or they don't want to hear all this right now, or whether if it's just about me and it's just like I just want to tell somebody all this right now.
exact. And then that's the point where like even if you have someone where like you're super super close to, like, because that was my point. Like I had someone where I was like I wanted to express something with, but I was like, is it selfish of me to express this? Like you said, like you're excited because you did something that you just excited to do, and you tell this like you already talked to this person so much about everything, and it's kind of like, but then just this like literally this happened out of nowhere. Like I just started thinking about like the deeper concept of it, and it's had me like kind of stopped in my tracks.
Yeah,
since
sometimes
then,
it is like a little bit of a like where I put my brakes on it. Like, damn, I gotta like. I'll just tell them this later, like on some shit. Like there'll be another moment where it's like this news will be the time, but I will have the inclination. Like it'll be dope to just feel me, like get it off right now.
But it feels like restricted because you're like you said, you're
Yeah, like,
excited
it's
and
not
you
a
want to
burn.
share it. But if
Yeah.
you can't share that emotion, it's just kind of like.
Yeah, exactly. You have to share it, man. And like we said, actions speak louder than words, but that doesn't mean words don't speak at all. You know what I'm saying? They speak. And I think that line is misconstrued because people think that, okay, well, maybe I shouldn't say anything at all. Nah, say what you feel, say what you did. You know what I'm saying? It's okay to speak. Actions will speak louder than words because, I mean, love is an action. You know what I'm saying? Hate is an action too. You know what I'm saying? So they'll always speak louder, but doesn't mean that what you say doesn't mean anything. So
You can always make a song. Every time you put things into music, it tends to have more.
There you go.
True.
There you go. Exactly.
Any last closing words, everybody?
I
Bring it
just
to the
want to
music.
thank everyone for tuning in. I want to thank Anthony for coming through, man.
Man, thank you guys for having me. Follow me on IG @drums_. That's where I post all my music.
Oh yeah, shout out your Twitch too, bro.
Oh yeah, my Twitch is also Anthony Elijah _. I haven't posted anything yet, but if you give me 2 weeks, I should have some live streams on there. I'm coming out with an EP July 23rd. It's called Seasons Change. It's just it's like more like a tape. Just me and my friends, stuff I've recorded.
Nice.
Excited about that. It's about time for another EP. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Summer's coming up. It's
Exactly.
time to get those vibes going.
Exactly. So I'm excited about it because I'm doing literally everything. I mean, not literally everything, but as far as mixing and mastering, doing myself. That's the first time for that. I've written all the songs except for maybe one or two me and a friend collabed on, but yeah.
Very cool. Very
man.
cool.
Excited to
Yeah.
check it out, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you some stuff.
So
for
July
sure, man.
23rd?
Yep,
Hell yeah. All right.
for sure, bro.
To the music.
And I know you know this. Ain't no one that can tell you different. You with the business. Lately I've been wishing it's you and me, my visions. Are you listening? Yeah, I'm ambitious. Wasting time not in my mention. Just say less. When you ready, I'm with it. I don't think you get it. Ignorance is bliss. Don't make me have to say it. And baby, I never wanna miss. You top of my list, yeah. And when it comes to you, I'm dedicated. Far from your worst, yeah. So baby, say less. When you ready, I'm with it. Are you ready? Yeah, don't play. I think about you and me every day, yeah. That's a no, I feel the same. When you're going through the smoke, I'ma be a flame. This is all I'm trying to say, yeah. Trust and believe in what I convey. There's a reason I'll explain. Cause when you're ready, I'm with it. And I know you know this. Ain't no one that can tell you different. You with the business. Lately, I've been wishing it's you and me, my visions. Are you listening? Yeah, I'm ambitious. Wasting time not in my mention. Just say less. When you're ready, I'm with it.
LOVE.
I wear my heart on my sleeve just to show you it's true. See, with you on my team, it's impossible to lose. And when it's us against the world, they ain't gotta approve. I love your design, the makeup behind the makeup. Blowing out your candles, only time you should cake up. Close your eyes, make a wish, I pray it come true. Cause baby, you bout due for some better news. This ain't bar for bar, this is me loving you, but still keeping hearts warm like we had too many rules. Ooh, how I feel when I look at you. Mind in cahoot, but I'm in awe of your body too. Scars and all, so many twists and turns. It's easy for me to get lost. Smooth rise to your peak, and no rush for us to get off. But when we do, just know we had us a ball. You ain't gotta mention when you ready, I'm with it. When you ready, I'm with it.
Ain't no one that can tell you different. You with the business. Lately, I've been wishing it's you and me, my visions. Are you listening? Yeah, I'm ambitious. Wasting time not in my mention. Just say less. When you ready, I'm waiting.
It's that new thing. Yeah. I want you to be my boo thing.
Do you think about me still? When you alone at night, do I ever cross your mind? Tough outside, inside, can't say goodbye. You miss all of the times and all of the smiles. You like to imagine we're back in time. Do you think about me still? I stay on your mind, your mind. There for you, let's talk about there for you. I was right there for you, left myself for you. You called cap, but it was facts. Believe that your anxiety can't see the best in me. You changed my mentality, you changed probability. We ended short after, and I gotta see. Do you think about me still? When you alone at night, do I ever cross your mind? Tough outside, inside, can't say goodbye. You miss all of the times and all of the smiles. You like to imagine we're back in time. Do you think about me still? I stay on your mind, your mind. Do you think about me still? When you alone at night, do I ever cross your mind? Tough outside, inside, can't say goodbye. You miss all of the times and all of the smiles. You like to imagine we're back in time. Do you think about me still? I stay on your mind, your said you tell me this, tell me that. I see you moving fast, quickie with a boy, you don't even need that. And the sea in the cup, you don't even need that. Trying to numb the pain, keep you sane from mistakes you made. It's okay, you're jaded now, I felt the same. Now you wanna double back, cause you see ain't no one like me. You got the clarity, so tell me, do you think about me still? When you alone at night, do I ever cross your mind? Tough outside, inside, can't say goodbye. You miss all of the times and all of the smiles. You like to imagine we're back in time. Do you think about me still? I stay on your mind, your mind. Do you think about me still? I stay on your mind, your mind. Do you think about me still?